Tonight, 13 investigates a product that you can buy at stores all over Indiana. It's called Delta 8. It's closely related to marijuana, and right now, it's considered legal here in Indiana, even for kids. But what's really in these products? Our senior investigative reporter Bob Segall tonight shows you as he reveals the high stakes surrounding Delta 8.
You've probably seen the signs at gas stations, smoke shops, convenience stores. Delta 8. It comes in gummies and vapes and flower buds and baked into cookies. But what exactly is it? It's described as a cousin to marijuana. Both come from the cannabis plant, and from a molecular standpoint, they're nearly identical. This is Delta 8, that is Delta 9, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. The slight difference makes Delta 8 less psychoactive, but make no mistake.
They'll get you high.
When I visited smoke shops and gas stations with a hidden camera,
make you more sleepy.
I was told exactly what to expect from Delta 8.
They're all going to get you high. I'm not going to lie to you. Every single one of them is going to work.
So, while Delta 8 can make you high, here in Indiana, there's absolutely no law about it. Cannabis products like vapes and gummies are considered to be hemp, which is legal, as long as they have less than 1/3% Delta 9 THC. Over 0.3%? Well, that's classified as marijuana, which is against Indiana law. 13 investigates decided to test Delta 8 products to see if what's inside is in fact legal.
Let's go with that one.
I visited gas stations and smoke shops.
Got some Delta 8 flour, some joints.
In the city and out in the suburbs.
Got the stoner blend.
To buy 7 different products containing Delta 8. Then we packed them up and sent them to a certified lab for testing. This is KCA Laboratories outside Lexington, Kentucky. It specializes in testing cannabis. Turns out, all the products they tested for us do contain lots of Delta 8 THC, which we expected. But our test results show most of the products also contain something else.
5 of the 7 samples were found to have Delta 9 THC above the 0.3%.
Ryan Balone runs KCA Labs, and his lab's test results show each of these products purchased by 13 News contains more Delta 9 THC than allowed under Indiana law, amounts well over 0.3%. We're talking levels approximately 2 times, 5 times, even 6 or 8 times over the legal limit.
Is this a case of buyer beware?
Yes, I would say so.
I have grave concerns over these, Bob. And anybody that doesn't probably isn't paying attention.
The superintendent of Indiana State Police says what's most concerning about Delta 8 products is they currently can be marketed and sold even to kids. And while most of the product labels say they contain less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC, this company's own lab report shows it has 1.8% Delta 9. Our testing also confirmed it has a Delta 9 level well over the state's legal limit. Doug Carter says that much Delta 9 can result in someone failing a drug test, losing their job, even facing felony drug charges.
Everybody that buys this should understand that what they're reading sometimes is not what they're getting.
All these labels suggest the products are legally compliant for Delta 9 THC. The websites say that too. But if you scan the code right on the package, that'll take you to test results from an independent lab that show the amount of Delta 9 is unidentified. And that happens a lot. Why do the manufacturer's test results show unidentified amounts of Delta 9 when the lab used by 13 News found levels that are clearly identified?
The issue is the testing.
When it comes to testing cannabis products, how you test is important, really important. Remember, Delta 8 and Delta 9 molecules are nearly identical, and some testing methods have trouble separating those and the many other compounds found in cannabis plants.
The problem with this is saying there's no Delta 9 in that sample, when in fact there is Delta 9.
If the testing cannot accurately detect the compounds, well, that's exactly how the results get reported, according to the scientific director at KCA Labs.
That's basically the problem. In most cases, laboratories are reporting non-detects for Delta 9.
KCA says it uses advanced testing machines that can easily separate and detect the potency of each compound. That type of testing takes a little longer and it's more expensive. Some labs instead rely on simpler testing techniques, and KCA says those techniques often fail to identify Delta-9 that's really there.
That's what virtually all laboratories are using. Accuracy suffers. I would have no confidence in the numerical result.
Is that giving the rest of the industry a black eye?
It is, unfortunately.
Justin Journet is the CEO of 3Chi, a Delta-8 company based right here in central Indiana. In fact, 13 Investigates tested a 3Chi product as part of the shipment we sent to KCA Labs. And it was one of only 2 products that tested within the legal limit for Delta-9.
All of our products are like that.
3Chi allowed 13 Investigates to tour its Indianapolis processing plant, where the company produces millions of Delta-8 products every year. Journet worries about the current Delta-8 market, which he says is flooded with products containing illegal amounts of Delta-9 that put consumers at risk.
They're being misled. At the end of the day, everything starts with testing. Right now, there's no standardization in the testing industry. You can send your stuff into 10 different labs and get 10 different results. We need some help cleaning this up.
But right now, no agency in Indiana is regulating Delta-8 or how it's tested. And no one's enforcing the hemp laws that do exist. State police tell 13 Investigates these 2 Delta-8 products violate state law regardless of how much Delta-9 is in them. That's because in Indiana, all smokable hemp is illegal. And yet, we found them being sold all over town.
Who do you think should be responsible for monitoring these products?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer right now.
Carter says the lack of regulation and proper testing is putting consumers and store owners in jeopardy. And the president of the Midwest Hemp Council agrees.
Clearly, you cannot trust what's in those products. You're possessing marijuana at that point, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
There's no repercussions for selling essentially marijuana in Indiana out of the gas station.
Because these products tested above the legal limit for Delta-9, 13 Investigates reached out to companies that make them, the labs that test them, and the stores that sell them. All the stores said they were surprised and did not realize they're selling some products that contain illegal amounts of Delta-9. Some stores told me they plan to stop selling those products. The labs that responded say they stand by their results and their testing methods, although one told me it started adapting those methods to better detect Delta-9. So far, we've only heard a response from one manufacturer. The company that makes this vape says it believes its products comply with all laws, even while acknowledging its lab has sometimes had challenges identifying Delta-9. You can see more about the testing and all the responses at WTHR.com.
Bob, it seems like this whole situation is a mess and no one's really doing anything about it.
Yeah, Scott, it really is. Right now, the bottom line is these products are easy to get and your teenager can buy them, share them with friends, and get the same type of high that they would get from marijuana. For years, Indiana lawmakers have been asked to fix that. So far, they have not.
Bob Segall with 13 Investigates.
Tonight, some big developments and new action following a 13 News investigation into the high-stakes business of THC in Indiana. That investigation showed many Delta-8 products sold in gas stations and smoke shops across Indiana are often mislabeled and contain illegal amounts of THC. Police and prosecutors took notice. Senior investigative reporter Bob Segall explains how law enforcement is now trying to crack down on Delta-8 and the new evidence they have to support their efforts.
This year, 13 Investigates went undercover into gas stations and smoke shops to buy Delta-8.
Let's go with that one. Got some Delta-8 flower.
And we quickly learned why the stuff is getting so popular.
They'll get you high.
Delta-8 is described as a cousin to marijuana. Both come from the cannabis plant, and from a molecular standpoint, they're nearly identical. This is Delta-8, that is Delta-9, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. The slight difference makes Delta-8 less psychoactive.
Make you more sleepy.
But it can still be incredibly powerful.
They're all going to get you high. I'm not going to lie to you. Every single one of them is going to work.
While Delta-8 can make you high, here in Indiana, it is not regulated. Cannabis products like vapes and gummies are considered to be hemp, which is legal, as long as they contain less than 1/3% Delta-9 THC. Over 0.3%, that's classified as marijuana, which is against Indiana law. 13 Investigates sent our Delta-8 to a certified lab. to see if the products really do comply with state law and if the information on the package matches what's inside. The result?
5 of the 7 samples were found to have Delta-9 THC above the 0.3%.
We're talking levels approximately 2 times, 5 times, even 6 or 8 times over Indiana's legal limit for Delta-9 THC.
Everybody that buys this should understand that what they're reading sometimes is not what they're getting.
Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter is so concerned about this issue, late last year he directed his agency to do the same thing 13 News did, on an even larger scale. State police detectives purchased dozens of Delta-8 products in 10 different counties and brought them here to the Indiana State Lab for testing. And their results are nearly identical to the testing done for 13 investigators. Of the 55 vapes, waxes, flowers, and oils tested by the state, 76% had concentrations of Delta-9 THC that are illegal in Indiana. More than half of them tested at least 3 times above the legal limit, and some way more than that. We're talking products with 12 times, 18 times, even 75 times over Indiana's legal limit for Delta-9 THC.
It scares me to death.
Carter says the state police test results should serve as a wake-up call.
We're selling intoxicants to kids, and anyone that thinks that's okay, I believe is wrong.
Who is enforcing and keeping an eye on what's being sold?
That's the problem. There's not any individual group that's responsible for tracking it and testing it to see what's actually being sold.
Using these new test results from state police, some county prosecutors are now taking action. This month, Cass and Vigo County prosecutors are delivering warnings to stores that sell Delta-8. These are the cease and desist letters obtained by 13 News. They tell business owners, if you continue to possess and or sell these products, you and or your employees could be charged with dealing a controlled substance. That's a felony that could bring up to 30 years in prison.
A lot of these retailers know that the manufacturers are not testing things appropriately and that there is no oversight of this testing and the packaging does not match the product. And it is irresponsible. It's in fact criminal for them to continue to do that.
Noah Schaefer is the prosecutor in Cass County.
Will folks in your county be arrested if they continue to sell this stuff?
I don't anticipate arresting anybody because I anticipate perfect compliance. But the point of the letter was to say that if it doesn't change, arrests are possible.
That possibility is more real now that prosecutors have powerful evidence from the state lab to help them crack down on Delta-8.
Should store owners be concerned? Should distributors be concerned?
Yes. There could very well be a criminal case that comes from this. Once they know what it is they're selling and they continue to sell it, that's likely going to be the problem.
The superintendent tells me he ordered the state police testing because he says the state legislature has repeatedly failed to address this issue. Carter says as a result, Indiana regulations on Delta-8 are very fuzzy, but he says his agency's test results are crystal clear. Many Delta-8 products contain illegal levels of THC, and he thinks that's something both state lawmakers and county prosecutors should now be dealing with. I'm Bob Segall, 13 Investigates.
We found AEDs are not required at your kid's school or when they visit for an away game. Our investigation discovered an effort to mandate AEDs, and in order to study the issue, we're sidelined. This is not your average practice.
Ready, up.
As well as bumps and blocks.
Ready. Coach, silent collapse.
Coach Linnea Strasser also had her team show us how they drill for an emergency.
Somebody go get the AED.
Like if a player collapses. Sudden cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death in student athletes.
How long does that take?
We spend about 15 minutes at the beginning of every season.
Good job, girls.
This practice is personal. 2 years ago, Coach Strasser's son Drew needed the AED right outside this gym.
If he hadn't had the AED put on him, he wouldn't have survived.
Drew survived, but in LaPorte, Jake West did not.
There doesn't go a day, a second that he's not in my mind and obviously on my heart.
Jake's mom, Julie, now works to prevent sudden cardiac arrest in communities and schools.
No doubt in my mind and in my heavy heart, lives will be saved So please vote for this bill.
In 2023, Indiana lawmakers passed Jake's Law to improve school AED access and education.
Everyone stand clear.
Now teachers, coaches, and school staff must have CPR and AED training.
Shock delivered. Begin CPR.
But the law stops short of requiring schools to have these machines. Instead, lawmakers promised to study the issue and sent schools a voluntary survey. Only half responded.
Do you think that's a survey done in good faith?
No, I do not.
Senator Linda Rogers sponsored the bill. She, too, is disappointed with the report.
Right now, we don't know how many AEDs are in schools.
Right.
And we don't know how many schools actually have a plan to use them if they have them.
That's correct.
13 Investigates sent out our own survey to 125 central Indiana districts. 106 responded and reported having an AED in every school. 96 said one was at every practice game or other event on campus. A handful reported taking units to away games.
I understand no one wants to be overregulated, but when it comes to health and safety, that's number one.
Senator Rogers wants to strengthen Jake's Law, promising to file a bill that would require AEDs at school events and possibly emergency action plans. In 2013, when Jake died, there was an AED, but in the coach's office, not near the field where he collapsed.
Not judging or blaming anyone. They didn't know any better.
But now?
It's not good enough. All that talk is not enough. We need to see the action. We need to make sure that these kids are protected every day when they go to school.
So here's the thing. Every district is different. Some have really taken the initiative and not only have several AEDs, but also do drills to prepare students and staff. If you want to know how many AEDs your school has and if they have a policy or plan, look for this story in the 13 Investigates section of our website. Cierra Putman, 13 Investigates.
This little device can save lives. Our 13 Investigates team found AEDs have saved dozens of children and adults at our local schools. 13 Investigates reporter Cierra Putman is here. And Cierra, you've been looking at why these are not actually required in all our schools.
We found Indiana has sidelined this issue. Experts say you need the device and you need a comprehensive plan. However, we found many schools don't have that plan in place. AED survivors say that's troubling.
I mean, our first one is right up here on the wall.
Whenever Drew Brantley visits a new place, he's always on the lookout.
Right here out in the open, ready to roll if anybody needs it, and it's never locked. You've been on Pace Wednesday, Saturday, right?
IU Kokomo's head baseball coach says in February 2010, he was a high school junior who almost didn't make it home.
I remember waking up for school that morning, eating breakfast, and then that's it. I don't remember anything until coming off of life support.
Brantley collapsed in a weight class at Western High School due to an undiagnosed heart condition. Again, he doesn't remember much, but knows an automated external defibrillator, or AED, saved his life. 14 years later, he's surprised. AEDs are not required in Indiana schools.
Do you think they should be required in K-12 schools?
I do.
How often do AEDs save lives in Indiana schools? The state doesn't know. So 13 Investigates surveyed 125 school districts. 12 reported using an AED at least once on a student. Northeastern Wayne schools reports using them multiple times for students. Even more districts, 27, say an AED was used on an adult.
Hey, crossovers at the line, crossovers, let's go.
Franklin Community assistant basketball coach Howard Ely collapsed back in 2015. Then he was coaching for Perry Meridian at an away game.
I was yelling at the girls because we were still close enough that we could win the game. And I'm yelling at them. I sat back down on the bench, and next thing I know, I wake up, I'm in the hospital. And I guess the first words out of my mouth in the room were, "Did we win?"
After his surgery.
Ely and Brantley both had an AED applied within a few minutes.
Then survival is improved
drastically.
Dr. Adam Keene is a pediatric cardiologist at Riley Hospital for Children. He says if an AED is applied within 1 to 3 minutes, survival rates improve.
We're talking about 5 to 10% survival going to 50 to 70% survival.
He oversees Project Adam, an organization that helps schools prepare to respond to a case of sudden cardiac arrest. It's the leading cause of death for student athletes, kids like 17-year-old Jake West. His school had an AED, but it wasn't close to the field where he collapsed.
To think that it could have been prevented is really hard on me.
Now, Julie West is fighting to make AEDs mandatory and for schools to follow best practices.
Having an AED in school is not enough. You have to have the plan.
Project Adam's recommendations include making sure an AED can be retrieved in 3 minutes or less, creating a cardiac or emergency response plan, plus proper training and emergency drills.
Everyone stand clear.
Indiana does require teachers and coaches to receive CPR and AED training.
Shock delivered. Begin CPR.
But that's it. 13 Investigates found while most of the 125 central Indiana districts surveyed have AEDs, only 25 districts have a policy or plan that require a 3-minute retrieval goal, venue-specific plans, and
somebody go get the AED.
Drills like this one in Rochester.
Every child should come home from school.
There's some places that we go play that don't have them, that aren't accessible.
Which is why Brantley's team takes their own AED to away games. One district offered up, it does the same. 5 others revealed they have portable or traveling AEDs.
If something happened and we didn't have our AED available and we didn't do everything that we could, I don't think I could live with myself for that one.
Because you know better.
I know better, yeah.
And while you may get multiple chances to make it home in a game, in life, sometimes you only get one.
Okay, so I'm sure some folks are wondering about cost. Are these expensive for schools?
It's about $2,000 a piece, give or take. There's some state funding. There's also a bill that could bring some more federal funding. And I mentioned that we surveyed more than 100 districts. Well, we took what we found and we put it online. So you can check your school to see how many AEDs they have, and you can even read their policies and plans. Just look for that story in the 13 Investigates section of our website.
All right, Sierra, thanks. And if you'd like to watch Sierra's original story, it is now streaming on demand at WTHR+.
This election season is like no other. Certainly a lot of political ads, but there's something else you need to look out for. Fake and manipulated videos, pictures, and sound. They are everywhere trying to influence your vote. Just this week here in Indiana, questions surrounding this ad for gubernatorial candidate Mike Braun. His campaign altered a picture of a rally for Jennifer McCormick, changing the signs that people were holding. Altered images and totally made up pictures. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Segall is in studio tonight, and you got an inside look at how they're made.
I did. So eye-opening, Scott. You know, we want everyone to be an informed voter. So 13 Investigates is going to walk you through the world of deepfakes so you know what to look for and ultimately how to tell what's real. And we want you to know right up front, some of the images you're about to see are fake. When you see a picture of Donald Trump posing with supporters, a photo taken at a Kamala Harris rally, or a video of the president in the Oval Office.
My fellow Americans, I want to take a moment to address some of the hateful shit you've been talking about me.
How do you know if it's real? All of these images are deepfakes, fake pictures and video created by computers using AI or artificial intelligence. And images like these are all over social media, trying to influence what you think and how you vote in the upcoming election.
I'm worried. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Ed Delp runs the Video and Image Processing Lab at Purdue, where powerful computers are helping researchers detect what online images are authentic and which are created by technology. But most of us don't have these tools. And with a huge increase in political deepfakes, this professor says that leaves us vulnerable.
The average person may be in a position where they cannot believe anything that they see online or hear online and even read online, because it may all be synthetically generated.
And it's time that we get ahead of that before it gets out of control.
Spencer Deary is a state senator. He and other state lawmakers introduced 6 separate bills this year to address political deepfakes after seeing more and more of them pop up online.
My initial reaction to some of them is like, oh, that's nothing to worry about yet. But when I start to think about where it's going, and I think about how technologies progress and how quickly they progress, then I get scared, and I think it should scare us.
The scariest part for some lawmakers really is that rapid advancement in AI technology. They worry the technology is now getting so good it will become nearly impossible for voters to tell which video is fake and which is real. This is real. Me. That is not. The things you just heard, I didn't say any of that. This version of Bob is computer generated by students at Purdue using open source tools that anyone can get their hands on. And if that can be done to me, just think what someone could do to you or to the political candidate that you might be interested in. Many of the deepfakes we see are meant for fun or political parody, like candidates dancing in the street or engaging in silly real-time debates where users get to decide what they're saying.
Your wall is about as effective as using wet paper towels to stop a hurricane.
Get ready for a mouth-watering feast of funnies with Twimpy Wumpy leading the way.
But we've already seen other deepfakes intended to influence voter perception, behavior, and action.
It's important that you save your vote.
This robocall went out to New Hampshire voters in January, telling them not to vote in the state primary.
Your vote makes a difference in November, not this Tuesday.
It sounds just like the president, but it's a clone of his voice generated by computer. Other deepfakes target former President Trump, like this campaign ad that cloned his voice to make it sound like he's attacking the governor of Iowa.
Now she wants to remain neutral. I don't invite her to events.
Cloning someone's image and voice to create a deepfake is both cheap and easy.
You could really have me saying almost anything? Yep. And people have done that.
Amit Yadav and Kritika Bhagtani are the Purdue graduate students who created the deepfake video of me, cloning my voice using other videos of mine they found online.
It takes less than a minute or a few seconds to get the voice clone ready. This can be done for anybody.
How many political deepfake videos and images are out there?
A lot we're sourcing from social media.
Well, we don't know for sure, but Purdue researchers Daniel and Kaylin Schiff have created a database to track hundreds of recent deepfakes, including images and videos that show the presidential candidates in situations that didn't happen or saying things they did not say.
But it turns out Trump was right.
Many people believe these images and videos are real because they want to believe that.
If they have an idea of something they believe, then anything they see that confirms it, they'll believe it, whether it's real or not.
Generally, people have about a 50-50 ability to distinguish real from fake content, so they will believe deepfakes very often.
In my case, it's like generating fake news.
Justin Brown is a video editor in California who's made a real splash by creatively editing video.
Take a look at this. These are the tests. It leveled out and it's going down. But you have to look at this. This is, excuse me.
And using AI to poke fun at politicians and world leaders.
We win, they lose.
And you're putting words in someone else's mouth, making them say things that they didn't actually say.
Yeah.
And that's okay from your perspective?
I have no qualms about like putting words in their mouths to strip them of some of that power and give it a little bit back to us.
Justin's videos have gotten millions of views. He says they're intended not just to undermine politicians, but also to attack artificial intelligence, the very technology he's using to make the videos.
I hate this thing. I'm always trying to stir up trouble with AI and get a lot of attention on the negative aspects of AI, because I think it's a bigger conversation that we need to have that we're not having on a big enough scale, that the negative impacts of AI are not around the corner, they're already here, and they're only going to get worse.
Deepfakes are causing us to question what we're seeing with our own eyes, according to journalism professor Al Tompkins, who's been studying deepfakes for years.
To me, the greater threat is not the fake photos. It is that you're not going to believe the real photos.
That's already happening in this election. Claims that real images like this one at a political rally are AI-generated deepfakes, when in fact, they're not. So what can you do to separate the real stuff from the fake? Well, perhaps most important, just take a deep breath.
Most disinformation has one thing in common, and that is it raises your emotion. Because when your emotions get high, your reasoning goes down. You stop thinking. When you feel your blood pressure going up, stop. Don't share, don't react, don't comment, don't do anything. Just stop and say, let me just take a minute and see if this is real.
Pausing and asking questions is just the first step to spot a deepfake. Then it's time to zoom in and look at the details. For example, this photo of former President Trump praying in a church, if you look closely, he has 6 fingers on his right hand. And this photo, alleging low energy at a Kamala Harris rally, the t-shirts people are wearing, they're all gibberish. Both are telltale signs that these are AI-generated deepfakes. We have lots of other tips to help you sort out what's real and what's fake, and it's all posted right now at WTHR.com.
Bob, how did it make you feel when you saw a deepfake video of you saying things you never ever said?
Yeah, that was really strange, and it really makes you think about what video we're posting of ourselves online and what images we're posting online that could make it easier for them to create a deepfake of us.
Really interesting story. Bob Segall with 13 Investigates. A small Indiana city is tonight at the heart of a political debate about immigration. 2 weeks ago, the Republican candidate for lieutenant governor made unsubstantiated claims on a post on X, claiming Haitian immigrants were being dumped in Logansport. But as our 13 Investigates reporter Cierra Putman learned, his numbers appear to be greatly exaggerated.
Logansport is a modest city with a rich history of immigration. Population, about 18,000. Lieutenant Governor candidate Micah Beckwith is now claiming without evidence it's much larger.
It was a town of 18,000 and now it's grown to 50, 60, 70,000.
Beckwith says people on the ground tell him there could be tens of thousands of Haitian immigrants in the city. The city, county, and law enforcement leaders 13 Investigates spoke with say they do not have evidence to support that many new people.
So I'm just curious where you're getting this 20,000 number.
So I've talked to law enforcement up there, and I've also talked to citizens, and for the sake of their, they don't know that I'm doing this interview, so I'm not going to put their names on record.
We asked again for the evidence.
I'll get what I can.
The campaign never released the information. So 13 Investigates traveled to Logansport to get answers. The city estimates there could be 2,000 to 5,000 Haitian migrants, but they really just don't know.
We don't.
You don't know that?
Nope.
City officials believe most migrants are here legally via 2 federal programs. They help people from countries in turmoil and allow them to legally work in the U.S. A new Biden administration program benefits more than 500,000 people as of September. About 40% were Haitians. A similar amount of Haitians were listed as beneficiaries of the other program. The TPS, or Temporary Protected Status Program, is decades old. It helped more than 870,000 people from more than a dozen countries in 2023. This report states 1.9% of those people reported living in Indiana. That's 16,707 people across the entire state. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates Cass County gained 288 international migrants from April 2020 to July of 2023, ranking the 17th highest out of Indiana's 92 counties. Over at City Hall, the mayor's office reports over the last 3 years, traffic stops and trash debris violations are up, but not crime. Hospital annual reports show births are up about 20%, and ER and physician office visits are up 12 to nearly 14%.
And automatically, people are assuming that it is migration, but that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, that is ours as of the end of September.
Logansport schools released data from 2021 to now. Superintendent Michelle Starkey shows the number of Haitian students nearly doubled year over year.
Is that negatively impacting the other students here?
I do not think so.
Now there are 207 Haitian students enrolled out of 4,300 kids, just under 5% of the population. Those numbers do not support Beckwith's claims. So why Logansport? Some people told me they came to be close to family. For others,
this is more economics than anything else. If they're leaving home, they're looking for places where they can work.
Leonce Jean-Baptiste is with the Haitian Association of Indiana and said work opportunities are a clear draw. Logansport's largest employer, Tyson, has a pork processing facility that employs more than 2,000 people.
People are moving there for economic opportunity and have jobs.
Ball State economist Michael Hicks says the migrants supplement the workforce and boost the city and county's declining population. He worries rumors and misinformation about Haitian immigrants could hurt the Logansport economy.
If you demonize the place, if those forces work, What we've seen in previous examples are all types of residents stop moving here.
I don't think any community deserves this.
Jean-Baptiste worries about the city's new neighbors and points to how things escalated in Springfield, Ohio.
There were bomb threats, as you probably knew. School had to shut down, and people could not send their kids to school. So it creates real danger and angst among that community.
A community, he says, is looking for a better life, with a story not too different from the immigrants who came before.
So, Sierra, what did the city and the schools say about this?
Well, the mayor says he's still figuring that out, but knows translators will be on the list, and he wants the federal government to pay for them because he believes it caused this influx. The school district says it needs interpreters. Right now, they have one. They would like 7 more.
All right, Cierra Putman with 13 Investigates. Thanks so much. So, as you saw, this issue right now is part of the discussion in the race for governor. So we asked the campaigns what specifically they would do to help Logansport. First, the Democrats. The McCormick Gooden campaign sent us the statement saying that their administration would focus on helping the city with its health care needs, writing in part, the increased births at Logansport Memorial Hospital are misattributed to immigration alone. Rather than lying about the immigration situation, we should push for solutions like expanding maternal health access across the state for all Hoosiers. Donald Rainwater's campaign sent us this statement saying if corporations were using immigrant labor, they should chip in more. Corporations should be helping the local community to increase the infrastructure. This includes, but isn't limited to, helping to provide additional infrastructure for childcare, education, and housing. Republican governor candidate Mike Braun sent us this statement saying those who have entered our country illegally must be deported. If federal government programs bring legal migrants with a temporary status to our small towns, then they should provide resources and be transparent. If you'd like to read the full candidate statements, be sure to look for Sierra's story in the 13 Investigate section of WTHR.com. It's now been 10 years since the government announced a massive nationwide recall involving defective airbags. But tonight, here we are a decade later, millions of those airbags are still on the road, posing a deadly risk. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Segall tonight explains just how many drivers are still in jeopardy and the extraordinary steps taking place right here in Indiana to find those drivers before it's too late.
67 million defective airbags, all with a potentially deadly defect. The inflator module inside Takata airbags can explode with too much force, causing shrapnel to fly through the air, killing the very motorists they're supposed to protect. Government regulators say the defective inflators are to blame for at least 27 deaths and more than 400 injuries, prompting the largest recall in U.S. history. So far, more than 45 million airbags have been fixed. But a decade after the recall started, at least 6.4 million cars and trucks in the U.S. are not fixed and still contain a dangerous airbag.
These are cars in operation.
Patrick Olson is with Carfax. He says many of the recalled vehicles are right here in Indiana.
We know there's 154,000 vehicles in Indiana, almost half that many in the Indianapolis metro area that still have unfixed recalls. Those are not small numbers. Our fear is after 10 years, people have stopped talking about it. And clearly, there are a lot of these cars we still need to get off the road.
The risk is literally growing by the day. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the older these airbag inflators get and the longer they're exposed to heat and humidity, the more dangerous they become.
These are repairs that either have to take place or we're very, very likely to see injuries or deaths occur.
It is a race against time, and the automakers know that. It's why they're now taking drastic action to get the remaining 6 million defective airbags off the road, one vehicle at a time.
Dustin Dupree is going door to door throughout Indianapolis, looking for vehicles with recalled Takata airbags.
Zoom out, I mean, Indianapolis is just littered. There's thousands of these.
They're in just about every neighborhood, and when Dustin finds the recalled vehicles,
it looks like
that's
one
it.
right in front of that.
like that 2003 Ram truck, that's when he goes to work.
So I'm here from Dodge about the white Ram. It's got pending airbag recalls. They're potentially fatal if that car gets in an accident.
Dustin works with Stellantis, the parent company that now owns Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. The company is not just warning customers, it's offering to fix their defective airbags right at their house, so they don't even have to go to a dealership to get the repair.
We'll schedule it at 1:30.
Most customers are grateful.
That's a great thing. I appreciate it.
And surprised by the house call.
It was shocking to me.
Johnny Brown is getting his car repaired in the parking lot of his business. Stellantis sent a repair crew from Michigan to replace the recalled airbag inflator in Johnny's Chrysler 300. These old, rusted inflator tubes are now considered so dangerous. The automaker recently issued a do not drive order, meaning Johnny's car is not safe to be on the road.
So we're tenacious about going after these cars. We don't take no for an answer on these. We do everything we can to get them fixed.
Crews are now tracking down and fixing thousands of cars like this one, just in Indianapolis alone. NHTSA says this kind of outreach from automakers is extremely unusual, but when it comes to this recall, very necessary.
That's it. You don't usually see that type of outreach for an automotive recall. And so that just tells you how important the Takata recalls are and how critical it is that those vehicles get repaired.
Several automakers are now going door to door and offering mobile repair service to replace airbags. And the repair itself takes about 20 minutes. If you have an older car, take a moment right now to find out if it's got recalled airbags. All you need is your license plate number or VIN number. Enter that into a website set up by NHTSA or Carfax, and you'll find out immediately if your airbags need fixed. We've got all that information and links at WTHR.com. I'm Bob Segall, 13 Investigates.
Over the last 8 years, police have arrested more than 100 Indiana students who had a gun at school. 13 Investigates reporter Cierra Putman's in studio tonight. She found the gun violence in our community is now creeping into the classroom.
And Scott, we sat down with 6 Marion County students whose day-to-day at school has changed because of gun violence. Some told us they're seeing more guns in our schools. Before the sun rises, students trickle into Perry Meridian High School.
Good morning.
To Good Morning. Music. And the beeps of the district's $1 million weapons detection system. These monitors help zero in on where to check for a potential weapon. None today. School officials say they found 0 guns since the system was installed last semester. So you all feel safe at school?
Yeah, for sure.
The district connected us with these seniors. They know about the increase of gun violence impacting Indy kids, but say it's not top of mind for them.
It feels like a pretty safe space. Patrick.
We also spoke to kids in other districts. We're not showing one child's face for his safety. Do you all feel safe at school right now?
No, I didn't know.
There's good reason. In the last 2 school years,
students brought guns
Found at school with a gun. A student with a gun in a student's backpack.
13 News reported at least a dozen incidents of guns at school or on a school bus. Last May, 2 16-year-olds in Indianapolis were arrested after posing with guns in a high school bathroom. In August, a new Whiteland school reported an elementary student had a gun on the bus.
He said, "Hey, look at this." Then he pulled out a gun.
The exact number of weapons and guns in schools is unclear. Indiana doesn't require districts to track that, but the state does track the number of student arrests. 13 Investigates reviewed 8 school years worth of student arrest reports. They showed at least 55 gun-related student arrests last school year, triple the cases we calculated from 4 years earlier. These kids believe those stats just hint at the true number of guns at school. Do you remember the last time you felt safe at school?
Elementary? Yeah, when I was like 7, 10.
Kindergarten, 1st grade.
We connected with this 14, 16, and 18-year-old through a youth group. They all report having an experience with weapons at school. Do you think there are more weapons on school now?
100%.
Students may bring weapons, but these kids say most of the time they are not used. But then there are cases like this 2021 stabbing at North Central High School. The teen with the knife was convicted of attempted murder. Knives are a worry, but guns are these kids' biggest concern.
Especially because of the laws that have been passed. has made getting a firearm so easy. Not only do I not feel safe, it's like I know that if they were really upset and they wanted to get a gun, they could.
What made you decide to take a weapon to school?
So I had a lot of issues, like home and at school, but I kept getting in fights a lot.
This 16-year-old got caught with a gun in middle school and was expelled. He told us the gun was protection.
So I pretty much brought it on a consistent basis almost every day before I even got caught. I didn't think nothing of it.
The teen says he told adults there was a problem before he brought a weapon to class. So if I'm hearing both of you kids don't feel like the adults are going to protect them.
They're taking their time with the situation. Like she said, after it happens, then they want to do something about it. They don't want to act first.
These students have strong opinions about ways to make schools safer, like using metal and weapons detection systems.
You walk in a Warren, if you look and you look to the right, the metal detector is off to the side, up against the wall. It's not even getting used no more.
13 Investigates reached out to Warren Township. The district told us metal detectors were always in use at 2 of its student entrances. Now, they say a new system covers all student entrances. This school year, the district says it confiscated 1 gun. The students also believe searches could be more thorough. Lennon says in her middle school,
they tell us when we're about to get searched or the day before. So it's like we know when to bring stuff and when not to.
Warren Township couldn't speak to her experience, but tells 13 Investigates that's not protocol. Every district has a big assignment.
It's unfortunate and sad that it's come to this point.
Schools have to keep weapons out and make all kids feel safe. Keep in mind, if there's an incident with a weapon and no arrest, that doesn't show up in the reports we looked at.
So did local districts have gun-related arrests last year?
And we're talking large districts like IPS, Lafayette, and Hamilton Southeastern, and smaller districts like Mount Vernon, Indian Creek, and even some charter schools.
Really interesting story. Cierra Putman with 13 Investigates.
Most folks are familiar with Angie's List and Home Advisor, 2 big names in the referral industry. A few years ago, they merged into a single company called Angie, and millions of consumers use it. But what you get when you use an online referral might not be what you're expecting.
So this is the refrigerator.
It was 6 months ago when India Anderson's fridge just stopped working.
There were no lights. Food was spoiling and there was no cold temperature at all. And that's when I reached out to Angie.
Angie. It offers to connect you with top-rated certified professional contractors to handle all kinds of jobs around your house. The company quickly emailed India a list of contractors, and she picked one of them to come fix her fridge.
Right Away Appliance Pros.
That came directly from Angie?
Yes, it came directly from Angie.
A repairman came the next day.
The gentleman's name is Ray Begley. He said, well, it's these 3 parts that you need, $614 for these parts. Have to get the money up front, and I don't take a credit card. Okay, need to get it fixed. Let's do this.
So she paid the $614.
I wrote a check.
But the contractor referred by Angie did not work out.
When did he come back to do the repairs?
He never came back.
This is Raymond Begley, the man behind Right Way Appliance and the contractor referred by Angie.
That's the guy?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. That's who was in my home.
13 Investigates discovered Begley has a very long criminal history. Between 1994 and 2015, he pled guilty to battery, burglary, theft, receiving stolen property, drug charges, resisting law enforcement, even escape. In fact, this is Begley's photo that the state published 3 years ago on its list of Indiana fugitives.
Not a particularly trustworthy guy, to say the least.
The Anderson family says Raymond Begley stopped answering their texts and calls months ago.
Didn't hear from him after that.
He did answer a call from 13 Investigates and said he'd meet with me, but then changed his mind. By phone, he told me he hasn't been in trouble with the law in years, and he said, I thought I completed that job. I have no idea why it wasn't taken care of. I will take care of that immediately. 6 weeks later, that still has not happened.
You've never seen him again?
No.
India says not only did she lose $614, she also lost trust in Angie.
Mr. Begley's going to be Mr. Begley, but Angie basically invited this man into my home by identifying him as a potential contractor. That's not okay. That's not acceptable. I thought they did some type of vetting process.
Is there vetting? Well, Angie told 13 News contractors referred as part of its certified network must be properly licensed, maintain at least a 3-star rating on their reviews, and pass a background check that looks for felony convictions in the past 7 years. But the company also acknowledges, unfortunately, we are unable to perform a background check on every employee of a business. The background checks are performed only on the owner or principal. In the case of Raymond Begley, an Angie spokesman told 13 News, Right Way Appliance passed the certification process because their background issues were outside the standard 7-year look back that's performed. And they said, we have now removed this company from our platform and they will not be able to rejoin. That explanation is not overly reassuring to India Anderson.
I suspect that this is not an isolated incident.
She's right. Angie and Home Advisor have made headlines across the country for recommending some contractors who were either not licensed or who had criminal backgrounds. And over the past decade, Indiana's Attorney General received more than 100 complaints involving the companies.
You can't just have some referral service sending out God knows who to your home without knowing who the individual is, who the company is.
Teresa Murray is Consumer Watchdog Director at the U.S. Public Interest Research Group. She says online referral sites can be helpful, but are no substitute for you doing your own homework. Is the contractor licensed? Are they bonded? Do they have references? How are their online reviews? And are they named in any lawsuits?
Nobody can do all of that except for you. Nobody takes care of you better than you. There's nothing wrong necessarily with using some kind of online referral service as a starting point. A starting point. It can't be the only thing that you rely on.
Okay.
India eventually hired a different contractor. Her fridge is back to being cold, but she's still hot about the referral.
Will you be using Angie again?
Oh, no. No. That's a done deal. Going back to the old-fashioned way, word of mouth, and do my own vetting process.
Ray Begley told me he's sorry for what happened and said he'd start paying back the money he took from the Andersons right away. So far, he hasn't paid back anything. Angie would not meet with 13 News, but the company did send us a statement. It says, in part, we are always disheartened to hear when a homeowner has an issue with a pro. However, this is an extremely rare situation that we work hard to avoid. Now, originally, the company told the Andersons they couldn't help, but months later, after we started asking questions, Angie just sent the family a check for $614, Scott. That's the full amount the family lost.
So I guess it's important for our viewers to know that these online referrals, that's one option, not the only option.
Absolutely. Talk to friends, co-workers, neighbors, folks at church. Get references from people that you know and that you trust. And if you need something fixed or work done around your home, go to WTHR.com. We have a list of questions to ask there before you hire someone.
Good advice from Bob Segall with 13 Investigates. When an Indiana pharmacist died unexpectedly after having a heart attack at work, her story became part of a national cry for change in the pharmacy industry. 13 Investigates reporter Cierra Putman joins us in studio, and her dad reached out because he was pushing for change here in Indiana.
Yes, he wants lawmakers to listen to pharmacy workers who are warning that current working conditions are putting their lives and the lives of patients at risk.
Traffic is a lot different than it used to be.
On a sunny day, Larry Anderson took us to visit his daughter, Ashley.
And we're here. But this is Ashley.
A final resting place adorned with what she loved. At the heart, the symbol of her profession. Ashley was an award-winning pharmacist with a strong work ethic.
And I admired that about her. But now I think that was part of her demise.
In 2021, Ashley was working at the CVS in Seymour when she texted her boyfriend she had jaw pain, intermittent chest pain, and cold sweats. She wrote, "I think I'm having a heart attack." But Ashley was the only pharmacist at the store, meaning if she left, the pharmacy would close.
She felt that if she went to the hospital, closed the pharmacy, and it was a panic attack or something other than a heart attack, that she would be judged and treated adversely.
So the 41-year-old waited for a replacement. Ashley collapsed before another pharmacist could arrive. She later died. In a statement, CVS told 13 Investigates it remains deeply saddened by her death, but noted Ashley was explicitly told to close the pharmacy and seek medical attention. After her death, pharmacists across the nation rallied around the hashtag #SheWaited.
CVS did not kill my daughter, but the changes that occurred at CVS and throughout the pharmacy industry, that killed my daughter.
Changes like more work and fewer workers. In last year's Mayo Clinic survey of medical workers, pharmacy professionals reported burnout more than any other group. Nearly 30% of those working at chain pharmacies said they were in distress, which could lead to more mistakes that impact patients.
The whole system needs to work together to rectify this.
Veronica Vernon is the vice chair of pharmacy practice at Butler University.
We're noticing there's a significant staffing issues in community pharmacy that need to be addressed.
That includes pharmacists and support staff. In a 2022 national workforce study, more than 70% of respondents thought staffing levels and almost 90% thought workload metrics reduced or significantly reduced patient safety. A separate study estimated there are 7,000 to 9,000 deaths in the U.S. each year due to medication errors across the healthcare system.
The public is at risk.
Research shows overworked pharmacy staff make more mistakes, impacting patients like 4-year-old John Castellaro. He's fine now, but this winter,
we've overdosed him.
His parents say they discovered his medication was too concentrated.
I think it's a CVS issue, not this particular pharmacist. We've routinely heard from them that they're understaffed.
13 Investigates spoke with 4 Indiana pharmacy workers that spoke anonymously to detail their experiences. One pharmacist said they left retail pharmacy because it was becoming unbearable and unsafe. Others said work requirements were practically impossible, dangerous for patients, and described going to work as war.
But Ashley was a lot more than a story.
Which is why Anderson is working for change. He's talking to the Indiana Pharmacy Board, the Pharmacy Association, and state lawmakers, pushing them to look at what other states have done to tackle this issue.
AB 1286 is a patient safety bill.
Last year, California became the first state to require the reporting of all medication errors. The new law also set minimal staffing requirements.
Ayes 43, noes 8.
In Ohio, the Board of Pharmacy passed several new rules. They set minimum staffing standards, require rest breaks, allow pharmacists to request more staff, and provide whistleblower protections. Protections Anderson wishes his daughter had.
What are you hoping her legacy is going to be?
My hope is that change,
including new laws or rules for the profession, and stiffer penalties for violations.
Cierra, how likely is it that this dad will be successful in changing the rules?
Well, when we're talking about state leaders, you never know what they're going to do. But when I reached out to some lawmakers, many of whom Anderson contacted, they told me they're open to learning more. Indiana's Pharmacy Association says it's reviewing his proposals. So we'll see what happens during the next legislative session and what may or may not happen at the Pharmacy Board meeting.
All right, Cierra Putman with 13 Investigates. Thanks.